Welcome to What's Next. I am Ravi Tangri, and over September, I've been bringing you lives every day to start to help you figure out how to figure out what your what's next is in this crazy, unpredictable, uh, upside down world that we're living in 2020. How do you figure out what your next direction is strategically for your organization or personally for you when all the rules are turned upside down? Now, we've touched on a number of things over the month, and one of the things that I did emphasize early on is that it's not about making massive changes, huge effort, and analyzing things to death because there's so much change and so little absolute information. You are not going to get any uh, confidence, 100% confidence in any decision. The best description I ever heard of leadership is making irreversible decisions with inadequate information. And I think in 2020, whether you're talking about leading your company or leading yourself, that's especially true, more so perhaps at any other time in our lives. So, what we're focusing on this week, what I'm investing time on, is helping you understand uh, the 5 steps that I have found for finding your way forward in turbulent times for business owners, for professionals, for CEOs. There's 5 steps that I've found that really move things forward. Yesterday, I explained the framework and I got into spent time on stage 1, which is where a lot of people are at. Today, we're going to move on to stage 2, which is especially challenging in chaotic times when there's a lot of stress. And I'll explain why that is. So, if you're watching this live on any of the platforms, please jot your comments, your questions, your thoughts down, and I'll be able to bring it into the conversation. If you're watching it after the fact, please do add to the comments. I'll be flagged when they're there and I'll be able to respond to them. I just want to make sure this is as resourceful as possible for you. So, this framework that I've found for business owners, for professionals, for CEOs, is what I call the path to soul engineering your life. The first step is being aware that there's got to be a better way than just the chaos, all of that. Second step, which we're going to get into, I call breathe, which opens the door for the third step to connect with your deeper intuition and insights. The fourth stage is called release and reclaim, where you start to break through, release some of those blocks that are holding you back, reclaim your power, which opens the door for number 5, flow, which is about connecting more deeply with your core and what's really important to you, what's purposeful, what's meaningful, so you can start to resculpt your life around that. So the first stage that we touched on yesterday is just aware. This is where right now, for a lot of people, it's you're being called in every direction. If you're watching this, you're probably one of those people who have everyone turns to for support, for help when things are going crazy. But then, who do you reach out to? Usually, there's not. So you're being pulled from your company, from your friends, your family, your community. Everyone's turning to you, and it's like you cannot give enough, and there's no time left for you. And when you're trying to do that, you feel guilty for not giving enough time to everybody. You start making mistakes. It's almost like you're sabotaging yourself. And the big thing here is you're second guessing yourself, you're overthinking, you're analyzing everything, you're up all night tossing through all the choices you made, beating yourself up for what's there, what you haven't done and such. But here's the key. That's where a lot of people are, which is what I call stage 0. Stage 1 is somehow there has to be a better way. There has to be a better way to get through this. You don't know what it is, but you know there's got to be a better way. And that's where you start looking for other possibilities. So the first step that I've found, the first step that really moves things forward is stage two, which is what I call breathe. And what's happening when at this stage, somehow, through some way, you learn to master that inner dialogue. Part of the reason there's so much stress on you is that non-stop head chatter that's going on in your head. You know, where you're second guessing every decision. You're up all night running all those things over and over in your head, or worrying about what's to come. That's in stage two. What happens is you learn to silence that. You learn to be able to be present, to simply be without any noise, without any head chatter. And you learn to build that into a daily practice. Now, that takes time. That's why they call it a practice. It takes time. But the thing is, think about it. How much of a difference can it make to you to be able to not have that non-stop head chatter going on in your voice? How much of a difference would it be to be able to lie your head down at night and know that you're going to have a restful sleep? To be able to take a walk and just shut that off and let it go. Think about it, that when you've got those stressful thoughts, the thing is, this is what's really interesting. Your brain doesn't know the difference between what you imagine and what you actually experience. So if something happens that's stressful, it's amazing what your body does in the stress response. It pumps out hundreds of chemicals and hormones to respond, which is awesome when we lived in caves and the saber-toothed tiger came down and we had to either fight or run. But it's not very good now because there's nothing to fight and we can't really run. So all we do is poison our body with these toxins. And here's the interesting thing. Your brain doesn't know the difference between what you actually experience and what you imagine. So when you're going through all that stuff over and over in your head, should I have done that? Or beating yourself up, you're creating that same stress response over and over and over. You wonder why you're so tired. These hormones, these chemicals, they break down in your immune system. They age you. Imagine if you had the switch to be able to stop that. So you stop that poisoning that's going on in your body. That's what this stage is about. It's about building that mastery. So you're the one in control, not all this other stuff that's going on in the world. And definitely not that voice in your head. That is something you control, you choose to use when you choose to use it. It's not something that drives you, that runs you, and it most definitely is not you. So what does this do? First of all, you stop that stress response. So another factor of the stress response is it shuts down the brain. You don't need to sit down and do a pro-con analysis when the saber-toothed tiger is coming at you. You react. You either fight or run instantaneously. You get your brain back. You become a lot more resourceful in trying to find that way forward. If you are constantly living in that stress response, you're simply not going to see the opportunities if they're right in front of you, because you're on that. It really is like an addiction. So what this is about is breaking that addiction and stopping that flow. Now, there's many ways that you can do that. There's, you can explore it through meditation, through yoga, time in nature. One of the things that I've always loved to do, especially when I was a kid, is just get in a canoe and get lost. And even back then, before I'd explored meditation or any of these things, that was a time where my head just went silent and I could just be there on the lake, on the river. And all that was there was the sounds of my paddle through the water, the canoe cutting through, and all of nature around me, the warmth of the sun, everything, the buzzing of the insects, and I could be fully present. I didn't realize back then how much that was healing me, so that I could deal with a lot of the caca that happens when you're a kid. So now it's something that I do very intentionally. When I feel things working up, I always go back to my meditation or to stillness or go into nature. And it just really, really replenishes me. So there's many different practices that you can have to be able to find that place to breathe. But it's the anchor that builds all the rest. If you don't have that, if you haven't broken that stress response, you're not going to be able to move things forward. So that's why this is such a critical step. And I wouldn't even worry about the rest until you've got this ability to just be present. They talk about presence, talk about mindfulness. Your brain can focus on 7 chunks of information, plus or minus 2. That's why phone numbers used to be 7 digits. Or, now we've got to memorize the area code as well. It makes it a little trickier, but it's because your brain can remember 7 things. So when you're in your head, several of those chunks are focused on the thoughts going through your head. You're not present. Presence is about bringing all of those 7 chunks out of your head and bringing it here, being mindful. So you are here and aware of what's going on. And that's the foundation that we want to look at. So whatever your practice is, this is something that if you're doing something that does it, runners talk about being in a runner's high. For me, dance is another thing. When I'm dancing with a partner, I have to be totally present. I cannot be in my head. I've got to be with my partner and the music to be able to choreograph in the moment. That's a mindfulness practice for me. What is it that you do that allows you to breathe? Whether it's a walk in nature, meditation, yoga, whatever that lets you get out of your head and be fully present. Whatever that is, that's your anchor to build the rest of the journey. So think about that, and maybe, if you're watching afterwards as well, share some of the practices that you follow to do that. Now, one of the things that I want to bring to your awareness, if you are having trouble with that self-talk, a lot of people are. Some people think that's who they are. It is not who you are. One of the things that I am kicking off this Thursday is a free challenge to help you build mastery of that. I'm going to show you exactly how you can shut that self-talk off whenever you want. Just like that. And then I'm going to help you build that habit over the week and bring you some other resources and Jedi mind tricks and such. So if you would like to join this stop self-sabotage challenge, just come to self-sabotagecure.com, register for free, and join in with us as we're all going to work together to master this moving forward. We're going to kick off Thursday, so sign up right now. If you are ready to say, I've had enough with that self-talk, join us. And even if you do meditate or do other practices, you'll be amazed at the difference this makes. It is something that can take your meditation practice even deeper. So join me for that. Tomorrow, I'm going to move in this daily Facebook Live, I am going to move into the 3rd stage of this journey to soul engineering your life, which is about, now that you're present and mindful, how can you access your inner wisdom, your intuition, and why that's so critical. So that's what we will be diving into tomorrow. Have yourselves an amazing day, And we will see you tomorrow for that and Thursday for the Stop Self Sabotage Challenge. We'll see you soon. Bye bye.